Anyway, Aegis Turtle. He said that the mood he had when he painted Aegis Turtle was, if you're tough enough to eat, then you can afford to be serene. And that's why it's just the most chill turtle of all time. Hey, Orcan69, thanks for the sub, thanks for the 41 months. Anyway, 1 mana for an 05. Seems fine. They've been having their 05s cost 2 mana for a while, but there's not really a big difference. As long as it's cheap enough to come down and start blocking things, right? I'm usually a fan. A lot of my favorite limited decks are super dirtily control piles, and usually those decks want to have a few different ways of blocking early aggression, so they have time to do their dirtly nonsense. The toughness matters white card. Oh yeah, maybe that's the reason to have it cost 1, so you can attack for 6 on turn 2. Oh no, the toughness matters white card. It needs to be vigilant, right? Yeah, so as long as enchanted creature has vigilance. So you need to give it vigilance somehow before that card matters. Anticipate, 2 mana. Look at the top 3 cards of your library, put 1 in your hand, the rest on the bottom. Good card is good. Solid filler for your blue decks. Vaguely constructed playable. People play it every once in a while. Archipelagor. I don't know how to pronounce this name. Archie. I'm gonna call it Archie. 7 mana for a 7/7. Mutate 5 in a blue. Whenever this creature mutates, tap up to X target creatures, where X is the number of times this creature's been mutated. Those creatures don't untap during the controller's next untap step. So it almost seems like you're going to mutate this card more often than you're actually going to cast it. Yeah, good old Archie. Looks like a giant turtle. The big old shell. Sweet. I'm not sure how good mutate will be in constructed Samurai Cat. They've put it on some rares, and usually rares are more like aggressively costed towards constructed. But I haven't seen any yet where I'm just like, this one's good enough. Mutate this onto a flyer. Yeah, tap down your opponent's like 1 flyer, smack them for 7. Yeah, that'll happen. Card seems good. If you can get to 6 mana in limited, 6 or 7, it's definitely worth casting. Good old Archie. All right, Avian Oddity, 3 in a blue, flying, cycling 3. When you cycle Avian Oddity, put a flying counter on target creature you control. Oh yeah, this is another one of those. One of the cycling cycle that leaves that residue permanent value when you cycle them. This one's sweet. 4 mana for a 2/4 flyer, totally fine, totally reasonable. That art's wild too. That is an oddity indeed. So many wings, so many wings. Boon of the Wishgiver. 4 blue, draw 4 cards with cycling 1. A card does not have to be super amazing to have cycling 1 on it. So being able to draw 4 cards is pretty nice. This is the sort of card, like, you're going to put this in your blue-white cycling aggro deck, and most of the time it's just going to be cycled for like cycling value. But then every once in a while, your stupid aggro deck full of 2-drops is going to get to like play a 6 mana card and like draw 4 cards. Like your deck's going to be able to like shift gears at a certain point. I love decks like that. I love mechanics like that, where you get to switch roles. Yeah, good card is good. Capture Sphere, 3 in a blue, flash enchant creature. Tap the enchanted creature, doesn't untap, yeah. Good old reprint. Solid card in blue. You can first pick it if you're hard up for removal, for sure. Definitely an early pick. One of those early picks that you can get late sometimes, too. Convolute. Another reprint. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 4 for 2 in a blue. Instant. I think I'm less keen on expensive situational counters than like everybody else in Magic. I just never draft this card and never play it. And it's fine, it's fine in some decks for sure. Especially if you have a hole in your 3-drop, and just like lets you leave up and like answer whatever they're doing. Crustacean, 3 in a blue, 1/6 with flash. Oh boy. Surprise crab! Yeah, not an early pick by any means, but totally reasonable filler. Hard to attack through. Dreamtail Huron. Oh, the crustacean flavor text. It loves blending into its environment. Ambushing prey and long scuttles on the beach. That is pretty excellent. Yeah, that's some top tier flavor text. Dreamtail Heron, 4 and a blue, 3/4, flying whenever this creature mutates, draw a card. We've talked about this card on stream before. Yeah, 5 mana for a 3/4 flyer is already good. So it seems like a great limited card. If a common mutate creature was going to see play in Constructed, I would imagine it would be the one that draws cards too. But we'll see. It could be part of an engine, right? Every time you mutate, you draw a card. So your mutate creatures are drawing you into more mutate creatures. 4 mana is a lot of mana. Escape Protocol, 2 mana. Whenever you cycle a card, you may pay 1. When you do, exile target artifact or creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. So it only works with cycling. And you have to pay 1 each time. And it only hits your own things. A lot of restrictions. So it's an Astral Slide that costs 1 less mana. You can only target your own things, but you can also target artifacts. It's not just creatures. But you have to pay 1 mana each time. Paying 1 mana each time is probably the biggest bummer, because you also have to pay the mana to cycle the thing. With Lightning Rift, you had to pay 1 mana each time, but you were also like permanently killing something. Whereas this is just the blink effect. Yeah, to truly abuse Escape Protocol, you're gonna need some creatures with come into play abilities, right? There are a lot of 1 mana cyclers in the set. That's a good point. Yeah, if the whole set was like 2 mana cyclers instead of 1 mana cyclers, then it'd be like pretty similar to having it trigger for free. The Essence Scatter Art is pretty insane. Probably the best Essence Scatter Art we've had, right? By 7. I think the auction closed on it recently too. I think it was like 14k or something. Seb finally started working traditionally for Magic. In case you're wondering if that's a lot for a piece of Magic art that's a common reprint, it is. That's a lot. That is a lot of money. It's a lot of money for any piece of Magic art. It's not like a alpha thing or like a Chase Mythic. Oh shit, what up? In oils? No. No, he used fuck, what was it? He was trying to make it seem like caveman painty. I could look it up, but I don't wanna get lost like too deep into a tangent. It's not oils though. Anyway. Also good in the set. Well, Essence Scatter is always good, right? You're countering their thing, their creature. They spent their whole turn playing. People only play so many creatures, counter their best thing, win the game. Yeah, find the Twitter thread where he talks about it. Yeah, I shared that on stream a while back, but I don't want to dig for it now. If someone wants to find the thread or whatever, find the materials he used, that'd be cool. Anyway, Facet Reader, 1 in the blue, 1/2, 1 mana, tap, draw a card, then discard a card. Sure. Gotta spend mana to loot, but that's alright. That's a fine ability to have cost of mana. Merfolk Looter's OP. You gotta tone it down a bit. Tone it down a little bit. This is still a really good card. But not that great in multiples, right? The more of this that you have, the clunkier the activation cost becomes. But spending 1 mana to loot every turn, totally good. Totally reasonable. Yeah, so he used a little bit of charcoal, but then he used a whole bunch of different pumices. Pumice was the word. Pumice gels as a base. And then mixed with acrylics to mimic the texture of rock and earth. To give it the cave painting look. Anyway. Thanks for finding that. Frostlinks, 2 in a blue. This is a reprint. Not a bad one to blink with Escape Protocol, I suppose. But not like incredibly impressive either. Yeah, Frostlinks is always at least fine, right? It's at its absolute best when you're tempoing out the opponent. When you're curving out and murdering them. So you tap their blocker while you're adding another body to the battlefield. Totally fine limited card. Frostveil Ambush, 3 blue, instant, tap up to 2 target creatures. Those creatures do not untap during the controller's next untap step. Cycling 1. This card's really good. This is a really strong limited card. Because the effect is game winning, right? The effect is game winning in the right situation. You're like, I have this thing, I get to win the game. Your things don't untap. Your 2 things don't get to be things, while my things are still killing you. I win the game. And then if you don't have that board situation, like say you're far behind, say you're not attacking them, say that their things aren't very impressive, you just have like 2/2/3s staring at each other, and you're both at like super high life total, then you can cycle it. Cycle it for that 1 mana. So, best case scenario, you win the game. Worst case scenario, you pay 1 mana and draw a card, which makes this card sweet. It's a really good one. Exactly what I want my cycling cards to look like. Glimmerbell, 1 in the blue, 1/3. It kind of reminds me. I'm sorry, going back to Frostveil Ambush. Kind of reminds me of the old, what was it? 3 in the blue, tap 4 creatures, and you can cycle to tap a creature. Kind of a similar thing going on. That card was always good too. Yeah, Choking Tethers. Very similar to Choking Tethers. Obviously, this one doesn't tap a creature when it cycles, but it also cycles for 1 instead of 2 mana. And then it's got those creatures don't untap during their controller's next untap step. So it only taps 2 creatures instead of 4. But maybe your opponent only has 2 creatures. And they can't untap claws. Makes it pretty strong too. Alright, Glimmerbell, next card. Glimmerbell, 1 in a blue, creature, elemental jellyfish, flying. 2 mana untap Glimmerbell. Huh. Can we make this ping things? That's where I'm at. How do we make this ping all the things? There's a red mutate pinger. Oh my. Well, we'll get there in a bit then. Gust of Wind, 3 in a blue. This spell costs 2 less to cast if you control a creature with flying. Return target non-land permanent you don't control to its owner's hand. Draw a card. This is good. This is a good card. So, for example, Blink of an Eye is usually kicked and then costs 4 mana to bounce something and draw a card, but that's an instant, and this is a sorcery. But if you have a creature, all of a sudden this only costs 2 mana to bounce something and draw a card. So if you're playing this in a limited deck without flyers, it's pretty fillery. If you're playing in a limited deck with flyers, it's like actively good. And it's borderline good enough for a constructed deck full of flyers, but it seems kind of... I'm a little skeptical that there's going to be a constructed deck full of flyers anyway, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. This art is actually really sick too, by the way. These dirigibles just getting like warped by the creature's wings beating. That's really cool. Alright, Hampering Snare, 2 mana instant. Creatures your opponent's control get -2/-0 until end of turn. Cycling 2. Sure. Very situational card. Very situational. Use it to like, I don't know. Use it as a pseudo fog. Try and win combat with it. This is the sort of card that I would say would be like stone unplayable if it didn't have cycling. I'm still not going to play it very often. Keep Safe, 2 mana, counter target spell that targets a permanent you control, draw a card. Huh. That seems real situational. It's not even spell or ability, it's a spell. If you countered a spell or ability, you'd at least be able to, like, fizzle some mutate triggers. Well, not fizzle, counter, but you know what I mean. Seems real narrow. Maybe you boarded it in sealed when your opponent's got like 10 removal spells. When they have more removal spells than you actually have threats. Treat it like a sideboard card. You love the giant owl in the art? Oh yeah, the giant owl's sick. Hey, China Bull, thanks for the sub. Next 8 months. China says, is there a way to get my sub back? This was meant for Kenji. Oh no! Oh. Alright, Mystic Subdual. 2 mana flash enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets -2/-0 and loses all abilities. Oh, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. So you're turning creatures with like sweet activated abilities into nothing basically. And then having things lose like first strike and death touch mid combat, because the card does have flash, so you can use it as a combat trick, is also pretty juicy. And there's combat tricks your opponents could have to give things first strike and death touch, so you like let their thing resolve first, and then you play your Mystic Subdual. Your trick like beats their trick. But death touch is counters. Oh, that's a good point. Oh, that's a good point. So the counters just like continue to happen anyway. Or does the layering matter? Does nothing versus ability counters? Yeah, that's kind of poop. This card might be poop. Right. So it works versus ability counters that are already present. That makes sense. So like your opponent's like attacking with 2 creatures, and you block one of them, and they put an ability counter on the one you're blocking to give it death touch, and then you Subdual after that resolves, and it'll remove the death touch. But if you cast your Subdual first, and then they give it a death touch counter, it'll have death touch. That's how layerings work. Timestamps are fairly normal. Oh, it also has reminder text. It says mutating onto the creature won't give it new abilities, but it can gain abilities in other ways. Alright, we got another one of this this Mythos cycle. 2 blue. I don't know if I've read this one. Create a token that's a copy of target permanent. If rug mana was spent to cast the spell, instead create a token that's a copy of that permanent. Except the token has when this permanent enters battlefield, if it's a creature, it fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. Okay. So if you spend rug mana, you get to fight something. If you don't spend rug mana, you get a token that's a copy of target permanent. Isn't that like a pretty fucking sweet clone? Like, if you ignore the rug aspect of this, then you're already copying like planeswalkers and artifacts and stuff. Yeah, you can even copy a land if you want to. Clever Impersonator? It's like better than Clever Impersonator. Yeah, the Rug Edition. Yeah, some of these cards, like the additional mana brings it from like unexciting to exciting. Whereas this one is just like starting exciting and the additional mana is like, okay. So sometimes I might kill something. Copy Lotus Fields. Yeah, that seems worth. This clone targets. Oh, that's a good point. So you target your own thing, and they blow it out with a removal spell. Or you target the opponent's thing, maybe they can bounce it to their hand or something in response. Copy Lotus Field, sack 2 lands again. Oh yeah, I suppose that's a thing, huh? Bet into Teferian Borrower format. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think the exciting part of Mythos is that you can use it as ramp and copying lands, and then you can also copy planeswalkers. Like, copying a planeswalker seems way more exciting to me than copying a creature, right? So I don't think Teferi matters much with this card. But I suppose you're right. You are making a token, and then Brazen Borrower just answers it. Just answers the token immediately. It might just not do anything. Exciting clone, but maybe not the right format for it. Maybe not the right standard environment. Play with Thousand Year Storm. Oh my. Copy your Thousand Year Storm. Ooh. Ooh, baby. Yeah, and it's not great to copy your own Planeswalkers. So you run into the Legend roll. Another good point. Neutralize, 1 blue, counter target spell, cycling 2. That is a sexy cancel. It's pretty hard for a cancel to be sexy, but throw cycling onto it. Cancel that helps you hit your land drops. I'm on board. Of One Mind. Oh man. This art is gorgeous. This art is like jaw-dropping. 2 and a blue, sorcery. The spell costs 2 less to cast if you control a human creature and a non-human creature. Draw 2 cards. So you could potentially, like, make this a thought cast, huh? Yeah, Divination is already good and limited. And, this card might be good enough for Constructed. You need to be playing, like, creatures in your blue deck in Constructed. But if you are, you probably want this card, huh? Insane in Pauper. It seems nuts in Pauper. I mean, Thoughtcast is a really good card. Even if there isn't a blue creature deck in Standard, there might be one in Pioneer that wants Of One Mind. Delver's a human on both sides. That is worth noting. That is worth noting. Lovestruck Beast turns it on by itself. Also worth noting. Is it with Pyromancer? Oh yeah, does Pyromancer turn it on by itself? It does, right? It's a human and makes elementals. That's kind of nuts, actually. It's not Legacy good, right? Young Pyromancer and Of One Mind. What about that 1/3? The Legacy Delver plays. Dreadhorde something. Is that a human or not? It's not. So it's a zombie wizard. So you could play Delver and Dreadhorde Arcanist and pay this for 1 mana. And then Young Pyromancer turns it on by itself. I don't know. Can't Arcanist it back. I'm not talking about Arcanisting it back. I'm talking about turning on the Thoughtcast element of it. So if you have a Delver and an Arcanist in play, then Of One Mind will cost 1 mana. Monastery Mentor also works. Yeah, that's a good point. And yeah, Season Pyromancer as well, yeah. Ominous Seas, 1 and a blue. Whenever you draw a card, put a Foreshadow counter on Ominous Seas. Remove 8 Foreshadow counters. Create an 8/8 blue Kraken token. Interesting. And it's got cycling. So you can trigger this during the opponent's attack step. Just like cycle 2 cards, bring it from like 6 to 8 counters. Get to ambush them. It means that when you get 7 counters on it, like your opponent has to think real hard about attacking if you've got a card in your hand. And then it's got cycling itself. And note that you don't have to be like aggro cycling to turn this on. Like it will be turned on eventually. 8 draw steps is a lot though. If you have to like, if you have to slow turn this on in Constructed, 8's a lot. Don't Sack is wild. It's kind of wild. Like, in Limited, how many times are you going to get to activate this before you deck, right? In Constructed, you could activate it multiple times. But are you, like, really Like, say you don't get to this until you're like halfway through your limited deck, and you only have like 20 cards left, right? Totally reasonable. If you trigger this twice, now you only have 4 cards left with your deck that's like primarily full of draw spells. Enter the Infinite. Enter the Infinite, just like spit out a bunch of 8/8s. You just cycle it. Yeah, I mean that's kind of bad though, because you're. I'm not saying this card is like bad because you won't be able to trigger it multiple times. Triggering it once to get an 8/8 is good. That's still fine. But if you ever do have to cycle it because there's danger of decking, like this is your finisher. you're drafting this to end the game. You're drafting this as your cycling payoff to kill the opponent. So if you have to cycle this, it's going to be hard to kill the opponent. This is your big thing, right? It's a pretty big downside. Could have multiple Ominous Seas. You could. It's like a suspend 8/8. Yeah, suspend 2 mana for a suspend 8/8 would not be that exciting, but you do get to speed it up. Like if cycling a few cards turns it into suspend 4, then that's like pretty reasonable. Phase Dolphin, 2 and a blue for 1/4. No Kentronic, one of mine's discount. You need to have 2. You need to have a human creature and a non-human. A creature can't both be human and non-human at the same time. Anyway, Phase Dolphin, 2 and a blue for 1/4. When it attacks another target attacking creature can't be blocked this turn. So I guess you're like strapping yourself to the dolphin's underbelly and getting in there. Not a bad card. What about Changelings? Changelings are human. A Changeling is not a non-human. It's human. That's its ability. Come on, chat. Come on. Why is it a whale? Because that's the creature type, elemental whale. Are you asking why it's named a dolphin when it's a whale? Because it turns out dolphins are whales on this plane. It's fucking magic. What's wrong with y'all? Is a whale a sandwich? Depends on how you cook it. Good question, though. Yeah, I mean, this guy's gonna see play. When I'm playing like a blue-white aggro flyers deck, I'm always in the market for a horn turtle. And this is a horn turtle that it can also give evasion. Not too shabby. Polywog Symbiote, 2 mana for 1/3. Each creature spell you cast costs 1 less to cast if it has Mutate. Whenever you cast a creature spell, if it has Mutate, draw a card, then discard a card. This card seems sick, actually. Help you chain your Mutate cards mutate cards into each other. I think Mutate 4 is a pretty common cost as well. So if you're turn 2 Polywogging, then you can turn 3 Mutate onto the Polywog very consistently. Yeah, I would draft this card early and build around it. Oh, and a baby Godzilla. That's so cute. Excuse me. Constructed playable? Yeah, that's the question mark. Constructed playable question mark. If there's a dedicated mutate deck in Constructed, which is unlikely, but if there is, it seems like Polywog might have a place. Pouncing Shore Shark. This was my spoiler card. A pretty sweet one. 4 and a blue, 4/3, Flash, when this creature mutates, you may return target creature an opponent controls to its owner's hand, and then you can mutate for 3 and a blue. So the Flash ability here is really nice. It lets you like blow out combat. Your opponent plays a combat trick. You can mutate and bounce their thing, or you can mutate and bounce their thing at their end of turn. Like they tap out for their turn. You just like Venser their thing back to their hand. And then every time you mutate onto this, you're going to get to bounce another thing. So this is going to be a very frustrating card to play against in Limited. Mutate a Shore Shark onto another Shore Shark, bounce 2 things. And then you're also giving Flash to all of your other mutate abilities with this card. Alright, Reconnaissance Mission. 2 blue. You can first pick this in Limited. Bouncing Shore Shark, by the way. Perfectly reasonable first pick. And it's going to be a solid card whether you're like dedicated mutate or not. That's just how Mana War effects work. And usually Mana War effects aren't good enough for constructed. Unless it's something like Venser that can like bounce also non-creatures, right? Because the ability to bounce an opposing creature is just not good in every matchup. Alright, Reconnaissance Mission, 2 blue, enchantment. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. And it's got cycling. This is the sort of card that I really like to have cycling. Because you don't always have to have time for this. You don't always have a creature getting in there. But when you do, you get to play it and like win the game off the ability. Sea Dasher Octopus, 1 blue. Flash, when this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. And there's mutate 1 in a blue. So it reminds me of the Ninja of the Deep Hours, huh? And then it's a rare here. So certainly costed for constructed play. So you can start drawing cards as early as turn 2 with a 1-drop. Curiosity with Flash does seem pretty good. Attack with multiple creatures. Give the unblocked creature the draw ability.
Oh shit, what up?
Hey B-Dob, thanks for the sub, thanks for the 15 months. We go in color order, Ozymandias. So if we're on blue, we've been through white, right?
What up?
Hey Chase Foolery, thanks for the sub, thanks for the 8 months there. Anyway, yeah, I think this card's nuts. Should be constructed playable, huh? Awkwardly, sometimes when things are good and constructed, they are not good in Limited. I'll like pretty much always play this in Limited, but its ability to take over games is smaller. Unless you have an evasive creature. With constructed, you can just like always make sure that you have an early evasive creature to dash your octopus onto. You can like build your constructed deck that way. But in Limited, you don't necessarily have something getting in there. You don't necessarily have a creature that can get in consistently. And then you just have your 2/2, right? Exactly, just like Curious Obsession. A constructed deck that's built around Curious Obsession, it's going to be like one of the best cards in the deck. And then it's not going to fit every Limited deck. Anyway, yeah, sweet card, sweet. Shark Typhoon, 5 and a blue enchantment. When you cast a non-creature spell, create an XX blue shark creature token with flying, where X is that spell's converted mana cost. And that's a fun card, a fun ability. But I think the cycling part is the interesting part. Cycling X1 blue. When you cycle Shark Typhoon, create an XX blue shark creature token with flying. So if the cycling mechanic is constructed playable, then it's hard to imagine not playing this one, right? Cycle and make a shark token.
Shit, what up?
If you're facing a control deck with a lot of counters, heck, even if they have like its fairy out or whatever, then they would normally stop you from doing things on the opponent's turn. You can still cycle this on their end of turn. Make a big old shark. Untap, pressure them. This is not the first X-cycling card. Decree of Justice, for example, was an X-cycler. Yeah, it's an uncounterable XX that draws a card. Am I going to use the alt art or normal cards in paper? Depends. Depends on which I prefer. Like for Sea Dash or Octopus, like I like both arts a lot. I like the extended border of the alt art Sea Dash or Octopus, but I like the original art a lot. So I'll probably actually have to hold them in paper before I'll have a preference. It'll probably be on a card by card basis. Just our preference, right? You think Shark Typhoon will rarely be cast? Yeah, right? But the payoff is still there if you ever do have the mana and things to do. Startling Development, 1 in a blue. Until end of turn, target creature becomes a blue serpent with base power and toughness 4/4. And that's cycling 1. So I'm trying to figure out what this 4/4 is. Is this like a fish that they grabbed that's now like larger than the baby ospreys or baby eagles? Hey Wolf Tran, thanks for the sub, thanks for the 24 months. Yeah, this art is phenomenal. It's a weird combat trick, but it's not a combat trick that's like fully original, right? We've seen this before. It's okay. Obviously, making one of your 4/4s a 4/4 doesn't do anything. But if you attack your 5/5 and they block with a 6/6, then that works. Or if you attack your 3/3 into their 3/3, then that works. So it's situational. I think it's a little bit worse than pumping something. Part of that is because blue is usually less aggressive than white, but cycling 1 makes up for a lot. Card's text doesn't have to be relevant 100% of the time if you can just cycle it. It lets you mutate humans, I guess. That's like technically true, but also like not super useful, right? So now you have to like spend 2 mana to turn your human into a serpent and a card, right? Like you're almost better just casting the damn mutant. God, I sound like a villain on the X-Men. The damn mutants. Oh no. Oh no. Fucking love X-Men. Thieving Otter. The Thieving Otter. 2 in a blue, 2/2. Whenever Thieving Otter deals damage to an opponent, draw a card. Now that's an Ophidian that's costed for limited, right? When I'm playing a card like this, I like 3 mana for a 2/2 in limited is below rate. So I really need to make sure that I'm able to actually get in with it 1 or 2 times. You can give this flying though. That's pretty juicy. Voracious Great Shark, 3 blue, flash. When Great Shark enters the battlefield, counter target artifact or creature spell. Man, that art looks vicious. Great Shark's art looks vicious. Very jowly. Very, very fierce. And very, like, typically terrifying of a shark, right? I love art like this, where it, like, puts you in the perspective of the little person on the boat. Just like, oh no. Hey, Malcolm, thanks for gifting 5 subs. Congratulations to Aquilix, to Library Manipulator, to Gnu, to your Octopus Boyfriend, and to Exterminator. Congratulations, folks, and thanks again, Malcolm.
Oh shit, what up?
So, as with most rares,
Oh shit, what up?
this is a card that we don't really need to spend a lot of time talking about it for limited play. You're not going to see it that often. When you do see it in limited, like, you're probably going to lose, because 5 mana, like, counter your thing, have a 5/4s is pretty strong. It's a pretty strong effect.
What up?
Even if they're just, like, flashing it in mid-combat to eat your thing, right? Hey, Gimpers81, thanks for the sub, thanks for 20 months. In Constructed, 5 mana is kind of a lot. Kind of a lot. We've seen a few sweet, like, flash 5 mana cards for Constructed. This is sort of effect where like I'm tempted to say that 5 mana is just too much, and that it won't save play. But saying that also dooms me to lose to this card over and over. Yeah, it's expensive. It's also a restrictive counter, only countering artifacts and creatures. So it's almost like a sideboard card, if anything. Hey, Ben Diddy, thanks for the sub. Yeah, this card should really counter Planeswalkers, right? Then it start to look interesting. It does counter Embercleave, that's true. Embercleave comes down before this card, though. Like you're on the draw staring at your Voracious Great Shark as your opponent Embercleaves you on their turn 4. You're like two turns off of doing anything relevant with this. Anyway. Wingfold Terran. 5 and a blue for creature dinosaur, 3/6. Wingfold enters the battlefield with your choice of a flying counter or a hexproof counter. While versatility is nice in limited, this is like, I don't know, pretty much always gonna have flying, right? I guess hexproof can be really obnoxious. If you want a better blocker, you probably give this thing hexproof, and then your opponent like stares at their board full of piddlers, and your hexproof 3/6, and they get to feel sad. Kind of like the horn turtle from Dominaria, right? With hexproof. Or it wasn't a horn turtle, it was like a 6 mana for a 4/5 with hexproof or whatever. That card was pretty obnoxious. That card was better with hexproof than flying, probably. Maybe. Probably not. Yeah, I'm waffling. I guess getting to choose is nice. Hey, Floopy Minx, thanks for the raid. Can we shout out Floopy Minx? Let's see. I think I know the command for that. Yeah, Floopy's great. I've been really enjoying her stream. Alright, Wingspan Mentor, 2 and a blue for a 1/3. When Wingspan enters the battlefield, put a flying counter on target non-human creature you control. And 2 and a blue, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control with flying. So we saw a very similar card in white for Vigilance. But giving a creature flying seems way better than giving something Vigilance. So I think the Vigilance giver like gets like so much better if you're like Vigilance Tribal. Whereas Wingspan Mentor, you just kind of throw into all of your blue decks. So long as there's like something that you can give flying or pump.
Oh shit, what up?
Note that it is itself a human, so you can't put the counter on itself. And they'll be working on black. My favorite color. We'll see if it's my favorite color in this set too.